most of our stuff, as I'm probably sure a lot of our stuff is word of mouth. People knowing who we are, and because we're a family-run business, people like us.
Yeah, of course.
We like to think we're people's estate agent for life. Like you probably like to think you're their landscaper for life and tree surgeon for life. You want to be that Mark, the estate agent, in their phone that calls them up and goes, "Hello mate, how you doing? Can you come pop round and give us a value on the home?
Yes.
We're thinking about moving."
Welcome everybody to another Outside Crowd podcast, and today we're here with the usual crowd. We got Ryan.
Yo!
We got Billy.
Hey!
And we're joined today also by Marc Johnson from KMJ Property, which is a regional estate agent.
Hello.
Does that sound right?
Regional sounds good to me, yeah.
Yeah, because you've started fairly recently, was it?
No, so we've been established since 2008 in Tunbridge Wells, but we've grown. We've got two other offices now, so one in Crowborough and Forest Row.
Yeah, that's right. I've noticed the one in Crowborough. When did that one open?
About 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago. And it's all going well?
Yeah, it's going pretty well, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, what we wanted to have a discussion about today was how landscaping in general, tree work, things like that affect property prices and how things affect property in general. So I suppose starting off with, what's the state of the market generally at the moment?
So over the last few weeks, we've seen a pretty big incline in kind of what's been happening in the property market. August is always slow for us because people are on holiday, thinking about what they're going on holiday, kids going back to school, etc., etc. But beginning of September, we were expecting it to kick off 1st September. Didn't quite kick off at the 1st September. Probably 2 weeks into September, it kicked off. In August, we were doing probably four viewings every Saturday.
Right.
More recently, we've been doing kind of 17 to 20 viewings on a Saturday. We tied 18 deals up last month, worked that out today, and we're looking to probably do more than that this next month as well. So really quite hot at the moment.
So there's no impact on with the budget coming up and the doom and gloom that's been thrown around by the new government. That hasn't affected confidence or anything like that at the moment.
There's probably been so much doom and gloom over a long period of time that people are just kind of fed up of it now.
Is that it? Yeah, is that it?
And for now, people are thinking, I just want to be in before Christmas, so I might as well get this done now and kind of move before Christmas, which is still possible. It'll be possible until probably the back end of October, early November. So we're not expecting to kind of see a drop until early November.
Right. Okay. That's quite surprising, actually. I was expecting it to be a bit quiet out there, but
it's certainly shocked us, to be fair. We always expect a spike this time of year, but not as much of a spike as we've seen.
Right.
Wow. It's quite interesting. Different for, I guess, the landscaping industry. You know, having a chat with a few landscaping friends of mine and stuff like that, and you know, due to all of it, I think the phone's quietened up a little bit. So where we thought we were going to be a little bit busier, or the phone's ringing a little bit busier for those landscapers, it hasn't happened. So it's quite interesting to hear that you're quite busy.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are busy in that respect. I wonder if the knock-on effect, people are moving, not spending the money on the landscaping to move, and then once they do move, then they might do so. We might see that. I'm not sure. Just thinking of it.
Yeah, they're not your only customers, though, are there? There's lots of people who aren't moving.
No, of course. I'm just thinking of those parts. You know,
maybe that affects it as well. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Because I was sort of wondering if people are moving house and they're spending all their money on the house, whether it just means nowadays they haven't got enough disposable income to spend on things like improving their garden, or whether they've got to wait for a while, or whether they might have to do necessities. Because I imagine like tree work must be quite a necessity, isn't it? If you're moving into a house and they've got big trees overlooking, whether you've got a...
Yeah, so I mean, people see, I'm sure you see it all day, every day, where you've got trees in the garden. Some people see it as a really big positive, that it creates this kind of secluded garden, and you've got the complete switch side of that, which people think it's creating shadows and stuff like that, shade in the garden, which they don't want. So I think it's a pretty personal thing, but yeah, I mean, lots of people look at a garden and go, this is what I plan to do, and then probably get a landscape around and see whether it's possible.
That's it, yeah.
We're seeing a lot more of people going for the low maintenance style gardens these days, which may well, I suppose, have an effect on you. Have as much maintenance going forward with your kind of line of work, and maybe your line of work as well. But that's what we're seeing kind of around now, lots more low maintenance gardens.
Right.
I get a lot of people, like they'll buy a house, they have to do a survey, don't they?
Yeah.
And like quite often there's work that comes out of that.
Course.
So people moving into a property and they'll be like, this tree's too close to the house. Because I saw a job today and this guy couldn't get insurance on the house because of a tree that was in close proximity to it.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, it's been a nightmare trying to get insurance. He was like, I just want to get rid of it. But it's got a preservation order on it, so I don't know. Bit of a catch-22, as they say. So I'll see.
Crikey. Because we had loads of trees here. When I did our insurance, it was just, they just said, had you got trees within about 20 metres of the house? I think I said, yes.
Yeah.
And that was it. There was no further questions. I thought you'd have to have things like a tree survey done.
Yeah.
Do you find if you're taking people around for viewings, how much emphasis do they have on the garden?
I think I was thinking about this on the way here, and I think because lots of people say the best time to see a property is on a horrible day like today, because it can only get better, right? So if you fall in love with it when you walk into it, the likelihood is you're going to love it on a nice sunny day.
Yeah.
But if you scrap the garden out of that, because if you walk into a really sunny garden or a really lovely garden on a nice sunny day,
Yeah.
that can sell the house as soon as you walk into the garden.
That's it, yeah, that's right.
So I mean, I think gardens, especially with people like families with the children growing up, the garden's probably up there and one of the most important. Kitchen garden probably.
I was going to
inside,
say, kitchen
outside
garden,
living.
yeah,
Yeah.
walk-in wardrobe, and then it goes from there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Is a rubbish garden something that's likely to put people off buying houses?
I don't know. It depends, I suppose, what agent you've got showing you around. A good agent will try and provide you with some vision to a rubbish garden, if you like. If, for example, you're going around a property that hasn't been lived in, that's been vacant for the last 2 years, our advice to the client would always be to get someone around to clear the garden and
Start
kind of
again,
scale back,
Yeah.
so that it helps us be able to give potential purchasers the vision to be able to create their dream garden or what have you.
Yeah, sure.
So if you've got an agent which is just a door opener, then yeah, it probably would put people off. But if you've got an agent that's kind of giving you the vision, then I think you're able to kind of help them out.
Get over that sort of problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what you want from your estate agent, isn't it? You want someone who actually give you some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some sort of inspiration to show what goes beyond
vision.
the property. Yeah, that's it. Because I remember the first property we bought was like a 3-bedroom terrace place, and it was just need to be virtually gutted.
Yeah.
Didn't have any money to do it, but you could still look behind the rubbish that was there to realise that there was a really nice house.
Exactly.
That was behind there.
Because some people have got that vision straight away. Some people don't need the help of an agent.
Yeah.
Which my first question is, do you want my opinion or not? Because if they don't want my opinion, there's no point me telling them my opinion.
Yeah.
But likely, lots of people go, yeah, I'd be interested to know what you do with the place and kind of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can stand in the property kind of 15, 20 minutes, half an hour discussing all these different options, and then they go back on a floor plan and go, okay, well, we can move this wall around, we can do this, and adjust the floor plan at home, and then price up from that point on and kind of go forwards.
So if they're asking your opinion and what you think, how much emphasis would you put on the garden as opposed to, say, like new kitchen, new bathroom?
So I think, again, I was thinking about this on the way here. If you're talking a complete refurb project, so it's a probate property, for example, that's come to the market for the first time in, I don't know, let's say 70 years or whatever, our first bit of advice for people, if they're doing it for a flip, for example, they want to kind of do it up and get rid of it as soon as possible, is first bit of work you do is a garden, because it needs time to establish whilst you do everything else.
Okay, yeah.
And the same goes for new build developments. You can tell always a good new build development from a bad new build development, because the bad ones haven't thought about gardening when you've got the people coming around to look around at the properties and go, hang on, there's no lawn down, or it's all boggy or whatever.
Yeah.
We've just taken on a new executive development in Crowborough, actually, kind of ranging from 1.1 million to, there's some apartments there as well. But they started the kind of landscaping 3 years ago.
No, 3 years.
So now it looks really established and really lovely there. For viewings, it really, really helps.
I was going to say, does that help? Because I'm wondering, with like, if you have a new property, do the people who are coming and viewing, are they expecting to see like a bit of a blank canvas? Because most of the times you see new houses, all you got is a tiddly little
Square of
garden,
lawn, yeah.
a bit of lawn, and that's about it. And you think, well, that's because you've had lots of calls from people like that,
That's
Ryan,
it,
haven't
yeah.
you? And then you go and turn it into something particularly masterpiece.
Absolutely.
suppose-
But
go on.
it's interesting. Like for me, I regarding the garden, if there is what I always say is put your hedging in, get your hedging and your trees in.
Yeah.
You know, that's the immediately get your edges. You know, get if you want your hedging done, your trees done, get that in as soon as possible. You know, work your levels up, get those in, and like you said, let them establish. If it comes down to planting and grass areas, that can be done at a later stage, because the last thing you want is a load of builders going over the top of it with a 6-ton dumper. But
fair enough.
you know,
Yeah.
if you know, for me, it's get your edges in, find your edges, get your fencing in, get the hedges in, and that makes a massive difference in, like you said, years to come.
I think when the new build developments, there's certain types of new builds. The ones where you get your postage stamp garden,
Yep.
which are your houses out of a catalogue, which they go, okay, we'll have 10 of those,
Yeah.
5 of those, blah, blah, blah. But if you go for the smaller groups of developers, do you normally get a better quality kind of thought process? And if you're paying £1.1 million for
That's
a
right,
house,
yeah.
Yeah.
you're going to want a decent sized garden.
Well, I mean, you say that. You say
Well,
that.
not- yeah, so not necessarily.
You say that. I've been to properties like that, and you know, you're looking around. You know, there's a few new host houses that have been, you know, barn conversions, stuff like that. Lovely properties, you know, and you go in there.
You're
And
talking about the ones near you.
you go, yeah, and you go in there, but a shovel in the ground. There's clay.
Yeah.
And it is just there is so much rubbish that's been put out the back, and you just think, this is a real shame. You had this budget for this, lads. This isn't the end of the world to get a few muckaways out of this and put some actual soil in there. But they just, by the time they finish it and run out of the budget, it's the last thing that everyone thinks about. And it's just the problems they've had around me. You know, it's like I do not live in a £1.1 million house, by the way. Just like, but you know,
That's 2.1.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. One half of it, anyway. But yeah, I mean, it just makes a massive difference. Just, you know, a couple of loads of topsoil, sure.
One sort of general question, not quite within the outside crowd type, but with regard to houses and that, how do you find the quality of new build houses these days? Because usually my general opinion is, like Bill says, shocking.
Pretty shit, aren't they?
A lot of them are pretty shit.
Yeah.
If you go to, obviously I wouldn't name any names, but there's some groups of big developers that have been on the news recently. That have already got, they've been up 6 months and they've already got damp issues, or they've already flooded or something like that. Again, if you go for the small local developers, they normally think, like, you even notice it as soon as you walk in, ceiling height. Whether they're using local tradespeople to do the work, whether they're using local wood for the staircase, all that kind of stuff. You can tell as soon, normally it's, when you walk in, whether you can actually knock on the wall and you can hear next door straight away and all that kind of stuff. Makes a big difference whether they're doing it for big numbers and doing loads and loads of houses, or if they're doing that kind of select 5 or 6.
Because that's usually the thing, isn't it? The big developers, they just want nice greenfield plots and they want to pack it out with these boring old boxy builds. So it does my head in, really does, housing developers. Sorry, housing developers, most of you are shit. And they just pack them out. And the quality, it's like get them in, get them out, get them done as quickly as possible. And it's usually quality that suffers. And
it's really annoying because it's usually, you know, for those kind of properties, because they are done, you know, on that big scale and cheap. Then you get the poor couple of the first time buyers. They come in there, they've got the first, you know, you see them walk in the door, they've got babies on the way, and suddenly, you know, like you said, 6 months you got damp. And it's just, for me, it's heartbreaking. You know, it's hard to get on the property ladder, and you finally do, and then this happens. And I can sure to say that the communication between them, they're not going to come in and just fix it straight away.
No, you've got your 10-year warranty, but they'll be full of caveats saying this and that, and all that kind of stuff.
And actually getting them back to do something is usually bloody hard, because ultimately they haven't got the budget there to do it. And any time going back is like, they'll have a snagging budget. Once that pot's gone, that's it. They don't want to come back.
They're not going to be coming back after 9 years to do a bit of roofing.
It's a bit like JCB. I saw a job today, and the guy's a really nice house in Pembury. It's like big, loads of land. I think it was like a 5-bedroom jobby. And he like the land next to it. So he had the last house on the road, and then Greenbelt beyond then, and they've just changed the land usage to non-Greenbelt, and they're building 100 houses next to him.
Christ.
And he's bought another house because he doesn't want to be there for 5 years while they construct 100 houses.
Yeah.
And the developers said, "Oh, we'll buy the house off you 15% above market value because we'll develop that land that you've got." But he said because of the construction that's going on, his house has decreased in value by far more than 15% in the first place.
Yeah.
So he's like,
Should be 15% on what it was.
exactly.
Really, shouldn't it?
So new builds can massively affect the house price on it.
It's more with house pricing, the kind of whilst it's going on. If somebody didn't know the area, came and viewed that house 5 years later, once those 100 houses are built, they probably go, well, that's right, it's nice, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It really is. If you've seen what it was before,
Yeah.
it's the uncertainty of the in-between times that causes the problems, normally.
Well, 5 years is a long time as well. Imagine if you're living there and there's construction going on to your house for
All the
5
time.
fucking years.
Yeah.
And the chap's retired. Like, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Not nice, is it?
No, they'd be shit.
How do you find it in terms of are there lots of developments going up at the moment around here?
Yeah.
And how does it work for you? Do developers come to you to market their houses, or do they? Because some of them you go direct to the developers.
Yeah,
don't
so
they?
with developers, typically speaking, it's if you source them the land, you get the resale of the properties.
Right.
So, for example, if I had developer A and a landowner, we'd normally go and kind of source the land, go and find it through opportunities, whether that is someone's back garden, for example, that is big enough and has got the access for putting a property on it, and kind of spotting that evaluation someone's thinking of moving anyway, and going, have you thought about this? You could stay here if you're looking just to downscale because you want to take some money out of the property. Have you thought about chopping your garden a little bit and putting a 2-bedroom detached house on it? Okay, that'd be really good. Then we would get the resale of that or the letter of it going forward with the developers.
Yeah.
Again, same goes with, so we get paid by the developers
Right.
rather than the landowners, because that's
Right.
a finder's fee.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I suppose with the guys here and things like I'm sort of looking at like marketing. So if we got people, like landscapers, tree surgeons, and people coming in, how do you have many links? And do estate agents generally have links with people like landscapers and tree surgeons and sort of outdoor professionals to to recommend? Or
So we've got quite a big following on social media, which we follow local businesses back, and all the time we're getting, if you need someone, let us know. And then typically speaking, if someone wants someone, unless we've used them ourselves and we know that they're really good, we'll go back through our social media and go, okay, this tree surgeon here messaged us a few weeks ago, perfect, let's go and send them across. But making connections like this is really important, that you can actually meet people, know who they are face to face, and go, I met this chap the other day, he was really decent sounding, why don't you get him round to kind of have a look? And especially when people are buying for kind of flipping a property but they don't want to get involved with doing the work, then that's really important to have these kind of connections.
Yes. But imagine if you're thinking of flipping a property, is that something where if you're doing outside, doing the garden, do you recommend just doing it like a quick, bit of patio, bit of grass, and that's it? Or is there more value to be eked out of your property by having something a bit more designer-led and a bit more ornamental? Not capability brown or whatever, but just something that just looks a bit more.
I think it really depends what kind of property you're dealing with.
Yeah.
If you're in a bog standard 2 up, 2 down property, the likelihood is our suggestion is going to be go for a nice patio and a section of lawn.
Yeah.
If you're kind of going up the scale to a detached 5-bedroom house, then absolutely.
Yeah.
You're going to want different sections of your garden. You're going to want it to be designed to a really nice level, and at the higher end value properties, you can eat more out in the garden.
Yeah.
Whereas in a 2-bed, kind of 2 up, 2 down, the garden obviously is important, but they're probably coming from a flat beforehand or a very small house. They courtyard gardens, so that's less important at that point. Certainly from my experience.
Yeah. Do you find that have you ever gone to like houses that and you've just sort of seen and the gardens have just been so completely crap that it's just affected? I suppose not just from landscaping, but also issues like trees and things like that. When you see how they've affected the.
There was one we had for sale in Ramsline not too long ago, and the whole place was done up really, really nicely. They'd done the kitchen really, really nicely, bathroom done really nicely. And then you stepped outside, and someone, whether it was a chippy or I'm not sure who, had kind of got some wood and tried to make a bit of decking out of it, with some dodgy steps down to the main garden, which has a bonfire pit in the middle where he just burnt all the materials that he didn't need or whatever. There was a huge conifer tree right smack bang in the middle of the garden. No hedging or anything down the side of the garden, so it was completely overlooked by everybody else. No kind of privacy or whatsoever, but there's just this huge conifer in the middle of the garden.
Wow.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, and unfortunately for that vendor, that property didn't sell.
Really?
And if the garden was probably could have been one of its biggest selling points, because it was a really big garden for the kind of style property it was. So if the garden had been good, it would have sold.
Yeah.
And you should have put more money into it and kind of more thought into it.
And that's what I do suggest people, because I when I go see a property, talking about the gardens, and people say, we're a bit, whether we're going to be here for 5 years, we're not sure. We've kind of, we may sell up and move to get something bigger, but we've got the potential here. We're not really sure. From my point of view, you're adding value. Because the garden's going to be thought out. It's going to be a quality job. You're going to get the value out of it. And so that's why I would say don't. People say, can we just get it quick? It's like, well, first of all, we're not just a quick local landscape. It's not gonna happen. But if you do that, you're going to spend a certain percentage, and you might not get the value back from it. If you do it properly, you will get the value back from it.
Do you turn people away if they say, I want a quick job?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. When people come to me and go, can you put my house on the market? And I go, yeah, no worries, let's value it for you.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's worth £450,000. Okay, perfect, but I'd like you to put it on £550,000. Now we're just turning around and saying, look, go and try that with somebody else. Come back to us when you're ready to kind of try a realistic figure, because it's harming our brand having it on the market.
That's right. It's quality,
and it's not good for anybody to have an overpriced market.
No, I'd never. The thing for me is, I'm pricing a job. It's not, I don't walk in the door and, it doesn't matter who you are, whether it's little old lady down the road or someone with 3 Maseratis in the driveway. Yeah. I will go in the job and go, this is the price, this is what it is. I don't. For me, I don't look at that. This is the job. The value of the job is this.
Yeah. Must be a trick there, bud.
I sleep well at night. So do I.
And drive fast as well.
Fair enough, but it's so for me to, when someone says, "Can you do a cheaper job?" It's like, well, the scope of the work can change.
Yeah,
but the quality will never. I will never. Absolutely. I'm not a yes man. So it's right now it's been working well, and I think that it will work well.
People tend to respect a brand like that more, don't they?
Yeah.
The sort of people that are going to turn you away are the sort of clients you don't probably want.
Well, that's it. I'm not. I'm not interested.
Just out of interest, do you do you like in your actual job yourself? What do you do? Do you do any marketing? Do you get involved in the business side of things, or?
So in our business, it's my parents who own and run the business.
Right.
Then underneath my parents is myself as sales manager.
Right.
My sister as office manager, and we have a few members of staff that work underneath us as well. As we've got busier and busier, well, beforehand, when we weren't as busy, I was doing quite a lot of the social media marketing and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Now that's kind of being pushed to other people in the business, which is probably best, because I'm best at selling houses. I'm not saying I'm best at selling houses. That sounds really arrogant. But
your best place.
My best place is selling houses and going out to value properties and things like that. So, yeah, collectively we all get involved in marketing, and we have a say in what goes on. But yeah, other people are now doing the social media stuff.
Okay. So do you get involved in the business side of things as well?
Yeah, David's always kind of been quite open with the fact that it's our family business, and young ideas in comparison to his old ideas. Hopefully he won't have a problem with that. Is always good to hear. So kind of from different aspects, and absolutely always got kind of hand in as far as the business development goes as well. Awesome. I think David would probably say, if it wasn't for me and Katrina, we certainly wouldn't have the Crowber office or the Forest Row office. It would have just stayed them two in the Rust Hall office.
Is that because you were like pushing to open more offices? And
my aim is to have an empire, and for my parents to retire quite soon. My aim is to grow.
Yeah.
He keeps his feet on the floor a little bit more than me.
Yeah.
Probably due to experience. But yeah, I think we really wanted to push out, and
Right.
the idea is at some point they'll be able to step away and kind of do sales progression after the offer's been agreed from anywhere in the country, kind of thing. Still keep their hand in the business, but kind of step away from the kind of day-to-day running of it.
things,
Because that's quite a sort of interesting point Bill brings up, because, you know, like the podcast, isn't it, not just about the outside stuff, but it's also about how small businesses run and how they manage themselves. And so it's quite interesting to see, you know, how did you take to like the business side and things like that? I mean, you know,
I started probably going into an estate agency office when I was probably 9 or 10. So always after school, it'd be mum and dad were both working, so I'd be going straight to the office after school, and I was listening to the conversations that were happening in the office. And I think I sold my first property when I was 16 for KMJ.
Wow.
And then kind of going forward, I was always interested. David always made a big point of, don't join the family business. It's like a roller coaster. It's up and down, blah, blah, blah. Go and get yourself a safe and sensible job. So at 18, I was one of the youngest train conductors for South Eastern Railway.
oh wow.
Oh, right.
Which I absolutely hated.
Did you? I thought that would have been brilliant.
It's a really good job. I think if you're want to be semi-retired and you want to earn a fair amount of money, because I think it was like £40,000 to £50,000 a year or something silly like that. I don't want to offend anybody that's listening, but a job that doesn't need, I say, a lot of brain power. It does. You need to learn a lot. You need to know a lot. But I spent probably 3 or 4 hours of my day on breaks sometimes. It'd be a case of, okay, you need to go and sit in the restroom for 3 or 4 hours. And I didn't like that. I didn't like being paid to sit there and do nothing all day.
Yeah.
So in fact, I actually had my laptop out and I was doing work for KMJ whilst doing that.
Yeah.
And then coming out the other side of that, kind of did 6 months after I'd been fully qualified. And then I just thought, this isn't a bit of me. So then joined the family business. But then always been kind of in with the business side of things.
Yeah.
From the very point it was to join the business, it was okay. I was saying, all right, should we do this? Should we do that? And it was always kind of welcomed. So it's kind of grown organically like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So do you do business planning? Will you sit down and have like a sort of a 5-year plan, or do you keep it more sort of informal and just sort of discussions between you, thinking, right, in the next couple of years we're going to try and open 1, 2, 3 offices or whatever? How does it work from that? Do you have like sit down meetings together? And
so yeah, me, Katrina, David and Suzanne probably every other month go out for dinner and discuss what we plan to do. Following our last kind of meeting, it was decided that we were going to start a commercial arm to our business, so selling of commercial properties, and then start the lettings arm of our business, both of which ways to build more income and further expand our brand. Commercial has taken a little bit of a while to get going, but we've just recently tied up a deal of a 1.3 million mixed-use commercial opportunity next to Wagamama's in Tunbridge Wells.
right.
Wow.
And we've got listed today our first lettings property, so it's certainly working, but yet more informal than kind of 5-10 year business plans, because it's always changing. With the market being the way it is, 1 month it'll be really, really good, and there's no kind of predictions of what it's going to do. It's all
No, it's that sort of planning side of things is, I think, can be quite useful. How you do it informally or a bit more structured, just I suppose depends on how people like to work. I mean, I often had discussions, and then you get lots of good ideas coming up. I often find if those ideas aren't captured somewhere, they get forgotten about, and it's often the small ideas that get forgotten about, rather than, like
What he's asking you is, do you do a spreadsheet with the
No, we don't.
do you do a timesheet?
Jamie loves a spreadsheet.
I don't love a spreadsheet, so no, we don't do any spreadsheets.
Lucky bastard.
It's quite interesting. So, like financial planning and things like that. Once again, that's just generally you don't set yourself too much in the way of targets. You just like know where you want to go, and off you go, and everyone knows their jobs.
Yeah, it's like for example, if you look at your advertising budget for the year.
Ah, so you do set budgets.
Well, this is a conversation that myself and David have had previously. First of all, our biggest one is Rightmove. I don't know if anybody's got any kind of idea of the scale of Rightmove's costs, but for us, I think it's £4,500 a month for just putting our properties onto Rightmove.
That's a lot.
OnTheMarket.com is going to overtake Rightmove. And
Unlimited properties or
unlimited properties, but we have to pay per branch, which obviously for us, versus one of the corporate estate agencies that might have. So at the moment, we're currently marketing 50 properties that we've got for sale. But one of the corporate agencies out of 3 offices might have 250 properties for sale, and they're paying exactly the same as us.
Hasn't Rightmove just like their stocks have gone down massively or something?
That's because of on the market.
Oh, on the market.
On the market are overtaking Rightmove.
They bought up another company or something, didn't they?
So yeah, on the market, it's just been bought up by CoStar, which is an American company, and they are. I think they're putting £43.5 million into their marketing budget of on the market. I think Rightmove is something like £7 million or something like that. So they are really putting in lots and lots of money into on the market to try and overtake that Rightmove top spot. And if you look into the figures of Rightmove, it's disgusting how much money they make. They are, it's
like
worth
Google,
looking
isn't
into.
it?
Yeah. They're a lot worse than Google.
Really?
Yeah, the big profits they take is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the one thing I always like say with your company, it's not just it's like a, I can say, relatively new estate agent compared to some of the people. But you seem to have developed a good reputation. You've managed to sort of get in nice little areas where you're covering a local market. So it's working. It's worked pretty well for you. Did you have any ideas about how you went about doing that marketing, or was it? How did you go about doing your marketing?
When it came to moving to opening a branch in Crowborough, it was really because someone, the owner of the building, approached us and said, "Look, this property's just become vacant. It'd be a really good spot for you." And it made sense in our brains that actually there's lots of people moving from Tunbridge Wells to Crowborough and vice versa, Crowborough to Tunbridge Wells, whether that's for schools or not needing the schools anymore and wanting to be a bit further out, and all that kind of stuff. So that's how that came about. But when we first started in Crowborough, we already had a fair amount of contacts in Crowborough because we'd had a lot of people that we'd sold for in Tunbridge Wells.
Yeah.
So now seeing that kind of a few years later on, it's come back. Most of our stuff, as I'm probably sure a lot of our stuff is word of mouth. People knowing who we are, and because we're a family-run business, people like us.
Yeah, of course.
We like to think we're people's estate agent for life. Like you probably like to think you're their landscaper for life and tree surgeon for life. You want to be that Mark, the estate agent, in their phone that calls them up and goes, "Elevate, how you doing? Can you come pop round and give us a value on the home?
Yes.
We're thinking about moving," rather than Google search. Estate agents in Crowborough or Forest Row or whatever. Not really answering your question, though, am I?
Yeah, so I mean, sort of, because you're getting a feel about how you start to market it, but in terms of actually sort of sitting down and trying to work out a marketing plan, you don't actually do that as such. It's
more a case of, because you never really know what works.
Yeah.
As far as what we do, whether it's leafleting, whether it's Instagram, whether it's blah blah. For me, it's more brand awareness than the other side of things. So you might chuck £500 of that, £1,000 of that, and just hope that something comes back from it.
Yes.
But we haven't necessarily got such a marketing plan going forward.
No, that's just interesting to hear, because I think you're right, aren't you? Things like this, it's brand awareness, because you can't target lots and lots of individual people. I mean, that's what you want to do. But the best way to do that is by letting lots of people know, that
this is the
through
brand,
your brand.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose do you sort of sponsor events and do things like that? Does that help?
We sponsor events. We're in our most established office in Rust Hall in Tunbridge Wells. We've supported the summer fairs and all that. We've done the bowling. Since I used to have a top when I was probably 12 years old that said "I'm the M in KMJ," and we've done the bowling alley ever since. And even last year I was there doing the bowling alley. And there's things like that we always do. School fetes, always having the boards up and those things. Sponsoring, we pay per board that we have up. So we're always trying to support kind of.
So you do yes. There's two things that just came to mind. Is there some of that like a sort of social responsibility thing as well, and also do you find that it is actually you get value for money and you get a return on your investment? I
think there's, again, having boards up. Boards are our best way of marketing because people see a board up and they don't necessarily look at what it says for sale, sold, or whether it's sponsoring an event. We've got reflective signs, so they're literally, if you drive past them at night, they light up with our branding and everything like that. So
that's a good idea.
It's pretty cool. But I think we do definitely get something off of what we do for the schools. But moreover, it's kind of having that relationship with that school, and when we're showing people around property, saying that we know the local schools pretty well.
Yes.
Actually, from the PTA we deal with all the time, and the head teacher is blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff. And their Ofsted rating is this, and all that kind of stuff. It makes people buy into the community when you're showing them around houses. So it works on both kind of sides.
Yeah. I think that's quite good, isn't it? Because I think if you've got like that sort of family business that's actually tied right into it, into the community, then people are going to trust you more than just some of these estate agents that really don't give a monkey's. Really.
Well, I like that. I like the door openers. I like that because I know what you mean. It's just it's the here. Yeah,
my sister was looking for a property about 2 years ago. Bear in mind, she's an estate agent herself and does viewings and everything like that, and valuations. And she was absolutely shocked with some of the standard of the viewings of local agents. Literally, some of them would go, open the door and go, take a look round, let me know what you think. That's somebody's home with their jewellery, their bits and bobs. Just from a safety element, somebody could have easily taken any necklace off the side or anything like that. But there was no selling of the property whatsoever, and that's what we're employed to do. We're employed to sell the property.
Yeah.
So she was gobsmacked with the standard of some of the viewings locally.
Wow.
From some of the renowned estate agents that you wouldn't expect it from.
Yeah. Right, well, we're sort of exhausting our time, which is a bit disappointing because there's lots of different things that we could explore on here, which goes beyond just the normal sort of like just talking about, property in the back garden and all that type of stuff. But probably be something we can have you back for another chat.
Have you back, yeah.
At a future date. But I suppose for the time being, Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Mark from KMJ Property. And anyone looking to sell or buy, get in touch with him. Knows the local market, so we'll give the guy a plug. Thank you for coming in, much appreciated.
Thank you ever so much for having me.
Cheers. And thank you to Ryan.
See you again.
Thank you to Billy.
Cheers.
And thank you to all our listeners. And keep listening, keep putting comments up, and hopefully you can grow the podcast. And we'll be back for another Outside Crowd podcast.